Hey there, Terror Talks fans. Are you looking for some other content to listen to? Well, check out our friends at Tales from the Crypt. Join them on a journey into the unexplained, the unnatural, and the unbelievably scary. Every week, they dig through the creepiest and weirdest listener stories, almost too horrifying to be true. This ghoulishly delightful podcast is narrated by two ghoulish girls. Have a story to tell? Questions? Comments? Contact them at tftcsub@gmail.com. Be sure to check them out and let them know the Terror Talk sent you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to another rousing episode of the Terror Talks. This is episode 13. And on this episode, we are talking about Paranoia Haunted House. We told you a couple episodes ago that they were having a special event this summer called a Midsummer Night's Scream. And it was a one-night only event. It happened July 10th from 8 p.m. to, I believe, 11 p.m., if I'm not mistaken. It could be a little later. But we were fortunate enough to attend the event, and we got to say, we had an awesome time. We had attended this haunted house back in October of 2020. You know, right in the midst of pandemic and all that, we found this haunted house and said, you know what, we're going to go to it, we're going to check it out, we're going to give it our best shot and hope for the best. And we had an amazing time there, and we had an amazing time again tonight. These guys are really good at what they do. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to find good haunted houses like that. But we have found yet another one to add to our big list of haunted houses that are must-go-to attractions. So we're just going to kind of dive right in and talk about the ins and outs of both haunts. You know, what they were good at, if there were any flaws. You know, just talk through all of them, you know, give you our honest opinion on it, and let you know what we honestly thought about the haunted house. So, from the minute you get there, you are pretty much submerged already into the Paranoia world. What I will say is they are on a relatively small footprint. You know, the parking lot isn't the biggest parking lot, and the building itself, I mean, it's spacious, it's big enough. I want to say it might have been an old furniture store or something to that degree. But I'm not sure if anybody who has had experience working there or knows somebody who works there who knows and can confirm what that building used to be. I'd love to hear from you. But I mean, it's not, you know, a giant warehouse building or anything like that. It's nothing huge, but they make what they've got work in terms of space. And I think there is something very good to be said about that. And you know, it's the old running joke, does size matter? And in this case, no, the size doesn't necessarily matter. You know, you don't need a 3-story warehouse that also has a basement and, you know, extra floors down there to make a good haunted house. You don't need all that. Does it have its perks? Yeah, it's nice to have that extra space to give you a little bit of extra stuff that you can do, but you don't necessarily need all that space, and Paranoia has proven that point in spades. I mean, I guess when I went back in October, I didn't really take as much notice of it as I did today, but while I was there, you know, one of the things that I definitely looked at was just how compact everything was, and how well everything worked. I mean, they were doing some really neat tricks with a very limited amount of space. I mean, you know, one of the things they would do was you might be going through one room and you look through like a hole in the wall or a window or something, that you see another hallway, and you see an actor over there who like reaches through, tries to scare you or whatever, and you think that that's just another boo hole for them. But when in reality, you find yourself on the other side of that wall later. So they find a way to utilize as much of the space as possible, and they do that beautifully. It is beautifully, beautifully done. One thing I notice is they are very good about really creating this claustrophobic kind of environment as you go through, and I love that because I feel like when you are very closed in on yourself, that gets more personal than having this big open space, and that's very important in haunted houses because you want to create this feeling of unease. You don't want to be going through a haunted house and feel, oh yeah, I feel great. It's great, comfortable. You know, it's good to have moments like that, and they did have those moments where things were very comfortable, very, free flowing to walk through. But then you were also in these very tight corners, which just aided with how close everything was to you, how boxed in you were. And like that was awesome to me. There was several moments, and I know for a fact one of them, I can't remember which house it was. They have two haunted houses there. And, well, one of them I remember like being very cramped in, and I actually like my shoulder ran into one of the actors, and I was just like, oh crap, I touched an actor. And of course they know how to distinguish between if it's an accident, like you brush up against them, or if you full on come in with a roundhouse to the face. Like, there's a difference between the two, and they're smart enough to distinguish those differences. But yeah, they are able to use that space to their advantage. And when you go into a haunted house, depending on where you are, so you go into these really big ones that are like, for example, Paranoia or Netherworld or 13 Stories, I guess would be a good example. But you go into these places and you look at them and you see the footprint basically. Well, there's only so much they can do. But then once you get in there, you realize they use all the tricks in the book of basically doing the whole going up a hallway and then coming back down a hallway and going back. Like they find ways to turn you all around and basically create this very extended experience that's much longer than one might imagine, all while also maintaining an amazing setting. I mean, let me tell you, the settings on both the haunts were absolutely stunning. They had two haunted houses. One was called Quarantine. I don't know if they were going under that name. That's what it said on the ticket. But then when you got inside, there was a little like promo type screen that said The Void. So we're gonna call it Quarantine / The Void because we don't really know which one it is. But in any case, you go in there and the detail is immaculate. Like, so immaculate. I was just in like the entrance room before you even get inside. I was looking at this like metal pipe that was right in front of me and just kind of examining it and feeling it, and it feels like an actual corroded pipe. Like it feels like there's just years of grime built up on it, and you can tell just by feeling it that, oh, okay, this is clearly man-made. But still, looking at it through the eyes of a person, of a viewer, it looks so real, and that goes for everything they did in those haunted houses. So in the Quarantine one, that one was their sci-fi kind of house, military sci-fi kind of thing. So there was a lot of military type things, like you're in like a laboratory and there's like all these monsters and lab tables and army soldiers. Very I don't want to say futuristic because that's not the word. What is the word I'm looking for? Very like you're in a factory almost. There's a word I'm looking for. If anybody can help me kind of describe that right? But it's like you're in a factory, but like a military-grade factory. Everything feels that way. There's rust, there's grime on everything, and it feels real. There's one room, and I want to say they do this all the time, but I'm not 100% positive. And, maybe tonight was just like they did an extra because it's summer, but there's a room where they actually have full-on running water in that room. And, like, you can see it from ahead, and, like, there's an angle that you walk in and you can see a hole in the wall and you see the water. You don't realize you're going to walk in that room where that running water is. And what was awesome was right before you got into that room, or at least for me, before I got in the room, right ahead of me I saw this giant boom, and I saw the water just explode and splash people. And I was like, sick, I love it. Because that, I've never seen that done in a haunted house before. I've never actually seen physical running water, in a house. And so to see that, I was just like, that's incredible. Like, awesome job. And then the actress who was in there, she was kind of like running her hand back and forth through the water, splashing people as they went through there because we were going through really slow. So she just started splashing all of us. And I thought, what a great touch. I mean, seriously, because you don't get that. I've been to many haunted houses, but never where water is getting splashed on me. I've never had the elements interact with me that way, and this is a house that did that. I thought that was incredible to do. Going back to the set, it goes back to them creating this authentic environment that it's difficult to create an environment like that and make it feel as real as they do, but they do a bang-up job of it. And, what's great about it, this kind of goes back to the whole thing of what I was saying of these compact spaces. They don't have a whole lot of ceiling room in this place. Like, the ceiling's pretty low, and there were several times, like, if you look up, you can see the ceiling. But what I love about it is they make it so if you do look up and you try to see I guess you could say try to break the illusion, look outside the illusion, it is not that easy to do because you look up and you see this grated fence basically right above you, basically maintaining this continuous illusion of you're in a box. You can't get out. And I think that is genius, and I give so much applause to the creative team behind the haunted house. I think they did an amazing job. Going over to the other haunted house, Cursed, I believe that one is just being called Cursed right now. I'm not positive. Maybe we can find that out. But, whereas the other one was very sci-fi, military grade type thing, lots of steel, rust, that type of thing. Cursed is much more, I almost want to say tribal. Like, you feel like you're in, the joke I made when we went in there was, if you hear banjos, turn back, you've gone too far. And I say this because when you go in that haunted house, there's vines hanging down, there's greenery everywhere, there's trees, you basically feel like you have stepped outside in this haunted house, and I love that. I love the illusion of feeling like you have basically stepped outside, and especially when it's done to the degree that it really feels that way, even better. Like, because that's one thing I wish haunted houses would do is, like, actually take you outside. Like, I would love for a haunted house to, be inside and outside and then back inside. I think that's always a cool feature. Not many that I've been to have done that. But still, I digress. But this haunted house creates that beautiful illusion that you have stepped outside, that you are walking in this, like, bayou-type area. At one point, you actually walk inside of a house, like you walk up onto the porch, and you can see all the intricate details of the porch, and, I mean, it's incredible, because you feel like you've actually stepped inside of a building from the outside. And, I mean, the detail there, amazing. amazing. The actors, let's talk about them for a minute. The actors in this place are very good at what they do. They know how to time the scares. They know how to, elicit the right things from you. I think there's one or two that I really want to give like a huge shout out to. I don't know who you are. If you're listening to this and you hear this, hats off to you. It was the simplest scare in the world, but yet it got me. So in these haunted houses, one of the big rules they give you first and foremost is, our actors will not touch you. Please do not touch the actors. That's a gimme. What I will say is that there seemed to be a little bit of leeway here. And I'm okay with it. I'm not mad about it. I didn't, deck anybody. But there are two rooms in the haunted house. One, you're walking through a closet, basically. Like, there's nothing but clothes. And every time I've gone through this room, I nearly shit myself. Because that room, there's just something about it that creeps me out. I think it's because of the fact that, people say familiar things are what are more scary than things that are not so familiar to us. A closet is very familiar to all people. I have a closet. I've been in many closets. Closets in general are creepy, especially, if they're dark, if you're home alone, or if they're one of those closets where, like, you go in and the door closes behind you and you're just kind of in there and all the clothes are crammed together. Like, closets are naturally creepy. So, you've already got that creep factor. But then you put it in a haunted house, and you put it in pitch black darkness, and you throw a couple actors in there, and you make people never want to go in their closets ever again. And I give so much applause to that room, because they even took it a step further. I don't know if they were told to do this or if they took it upon themselves. And, I hope they don't get in trouble for this, because it really did make the experience all the more better. We're walking through the closet, and in the closet, it's pitch black. You cannot see anything. And we go to around a corner to, I guess, go up the other side of the closet, and something grabs my ankle. And it was like the quickest little grab. It happened and then it was gone. But it was enough to scare the shit out of me. I remember, literally, when it happened, I was like, oh my God, what touched me? And, like, that right there it made it worth it. Because it had enough of that oof factor to scare you. So that happened, and then a little bit later, we're still going on. And I guess there's a girl hiding in a tire. Don't know how she did it. I don't know. Don't know what type of contortionism classes she's taking to achieve this stunt. But she was hidden in a tire and reached her hand out and grabbed my ankle. And again, it scared the shit out of me. I freaked out. I was like, oh my God! And for that, I'm just like, bravo. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Like, I give so much applause to people who can create that and make it their own. If I had to give one critique at all, and this is being a little nitpicky, for the main reason of it's summer, so they probably didn't have as many people either wanting to work, or they just didn't want, I don't know. My only nitpicky thing, and this is more so in the science-y quarantine house, I would have liked to have seen more actors in there. And the ones that were there were great. They did their job, they scared me when they were supposed to, their timing was on point. But I think I would have liked a little bit more. I want more people in there, I want more actors. And that being said, when we went back in during October, there were more actors back then. And so if I have to give any type of, critiques there at all, that's the only one. Because, these haunted houses really were awesome. I really was impressed. So, I want to talk about Midway for a minute here. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with haunted house terminology, the Midway is kind of you can't even really call it the safe zone. It's the point between the two haunted houses, or if there's more haunted houses, it's the point between all of them where basically you can buy food, you can play games, buy t-shirts, souvenirs, all that fun stuff. And that is where people hang out. The music is always bumping. They're partying. If you watch, we've got some video clips on the video version of this that we're going to throw in there, where you're going to see we took some video of us in the Midway. And it was, the party was happening, y'all. Like, people were having a good time. They were loving it. This was our Halloween in summer. So these guys do really well with their Midway, and again, it goes back to they have this very small footprint. There's not a lot of space for them, but they make it work with what they've got. And I think there's something to be said for that, because it's not easy to create a fun environment like that with little to no space. I mean, if you look at some of these other haunted houses like Netherworld, just to give an example, they have this giant Midway in between their two haunts. And when we say giant, we literally mean giant. Like, it's got to be at least the size of a football field. And I mean, that's a lot of space to play with and do things with. Paranoia doesn't quite have that amount of space, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't criticize them for that. I don't demote them for that, because they make it work. Like, they make it work so well. Like, I was so impressed going there and getting to, have fun with people. I'm walking through, you'll see this in the video portion. I'm walking through there, and they've got the music playing. At one point, I think they had Thriller going. Like, it was fun, where everyone's having a good time. And one of the monsters, she's sitting there, she's jamming out with me. Like, she's sitting there dancing for the camera. She sees me filming. She was having a grand old time. And I love that. I love that they love what they're doing. Because that's the important thing, is that they love what they do. It's not, oh, I'm being forced to be here. This is just another paycheck for me, blah, 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 blah. They genuinely are enjoying being here, hanging out, and just scaring the shit out of people. And I love that. I love the energy that they give. I love the 110% they're putting in. Because that is so hard to find. And you go to some of these really small local haunts, they don't do that sometimes. They're there to scare you, and they might cuss at you and, be complete jerks. And that's not fun. That's not fun for anybody. It might be fun for them, but for us as the patrons, it's not fun. This is fun. I've sat there watching people get scared out of their right minds. People just coming up, coming up, sneaking up behind them and scaring them. And it was so much fun, y'all. I mean, I loved every minute of it. Absolutely. I will be back there again. No questions asked. Because, they really did have a good time there. The only thing that I hate that I didn't get to experience this time, I got to experience it last time at Halloween time. But it's a little bit harder with it being summer and the nights get, they come a little later. I hate that it wasn't dark when I got there. Because I got there, at 7:30. I got there 30 minutes before they opened. They opened up at 8. I wanted to try and beat the crowds and stuff because I have a 3-hour drive to head back home. And that is always something to take into account. Is it night out or day out? And that does make a difference, believe it or not. I'm sure there's some people who might be like, it doesn't make a difference. And truthfully, with the right people doing things, it doesn't make a difference. And with these guys, it didn't necessarily make a difference because they were still rocking it all day long. But I do hate that it wasn't, dark out and stuff when I got there. But, that's just me being, beggars can't be choosers. I can't make it be nighttime when I arrive there. It doesn't work that way. If it did, that'd be awesome, but, it's just one of those things. It's not a huge deal to me or anything like that. So I count my blessings. I'll take my wins where I get them, because I did have a really, really good time. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors and keep the lights on here, but we'll be right back.
Hey there, Terror Talk fans. Are you looking for a new way to let your voice be heard? If so, check out our friends at Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for creating your very own podcast. They offer editing tools to create your podcast, which include your audio, listener audio, unique transitions, and custom advertisements. In addition, they'll also help you distribute your podcast to other listener sources, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. With this unique app, you also have the chance to get paid for your podcast by simply placing ads for various sponsors in your videos. Best part of it all? It is 100% free. Anchor does all the work for you and makes podcasting as simple as turning on a light. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Whether you're new to podcasting, doing it as a hobby, or hosting a professional show, Anchor is the place for you.
And we are back with episode 13 of the Terror Talks. Today we are talking about Paranoia Haunted House. Before the break, we talked all about the scenery, the actors, the midway, all that fun stuff. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the special effects in this haunted house. So, like any haunted house, you have your typical special effects, fog and lights, but they know how to use these things to a degree where it creates a very eerie environment. So they have a lot of different lighting techniques that they use throughout the haunted house. Obviously you get your strobes, but what's interesting is there's one room where it's very strange. It's almost like a blacklight strobe, because it's strobing, but everything's under a blacklight. Like there's this green goo that's glowing on all the set pieces in the room, and that's just one of the many cool things they do with the special effects in there. They have all the strobes everywhere else, regular strobes and whatnot. There's one room where you walk through and it's got I don't even know how they do it or how to explain it. It's like one of those, like you would see on the paranormal shows where they set up the little thing with all the green lasers going every direction and stuff, and you're sitting there watching and you're thinking, oh, we're gonna see a person form in those. It's like that, but it's going all over the room, and it's on body bags and on you and stuff. It's really cool. It's I remember walking in there and thinking, oh, this is so good, this is amazing. So they do that, and then of course, earlier I talked about how they have actual running water going through this haunted house, and that alone to me is just incredible. It still blows my mind that you can have running water in a haunted house, and I mean it's actual cold running water. When they splashed me with it, I was like, ooh, that's refreshing actually, because it was very humid outside. We're in the middle of July here in Georgia, and it ain't exactly cold outside here. It's pretty humid and hot and musky and all that nasty stuff. So I thought that was really neat that they had this literal cold spring just chilling out in the middle of the haunted house. That, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then, like I said, the big water burst effect that happened. I think it was in effect. I don't think it was anybody jumping out of the water. I guess it could have been, but I mean it was a pretty big splash. I know that much. So there was that. There's lots of fog. Not just inside. I mean there's a good bit of fog inside, but outside too. Out there in the midway and entrance and all that. you have very, very thick fog out there. Like, these guys, they've got the recipe for fog machines down packed, because, like, as soon as it was time to go, the fog started rolling in and just billowing out. It didn't stop. Like, every time, like, I think it's got to be like every, I guess, not even 2-3 minutes, more fog was coming out. Like, you're talking thick fog. Like, you couldn't see through this fog, and the effect it gives off when done like that is just amazing. And that's one of those things I've always dreamed of being able to do, is create the right type of fog for something like that. I could never do it though. So outside in the Midway, one of the things they did that was really, really neat was, well, first off, the way they open up everything. So when you arrive there, you're in the little parking lot, and it's almost like there's a big fence before you can even get inside, like the Midway and all that. And everyone's lined up outside. If the fence is closed, you can't get in. And I remember last year when we went during October, we arrived a little bit late, and we stopped by a gas station before, and we just saw fireworks shoot up. And I was like, okay, that's got to be the haunted house, but I never saw what exactly they did. And I didn't realize they were going to do it tonight, otherwise I'd have recorded it. But as you're standing there, they've got the music going, like this heavy kind of grunge metal, like really gets you in the mood and all that. And then a voice comes over the speaker, and he's like, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, and then basically he gets down to 1 minute, and then 30 seconds, like he starts kind of doing a Happy New Year kind of thing for it. And I guess they do this every time they open up this place, because, it was pretty awesome, but they counted down from 10 seconds to 1, and when they reached, 1, like, okay, it's open, they shot off fireworks and stuff, and, like, it was real cool. Like, everybody was cheering, and they're shooting the fog machines, and the monsters all come running out. Like, they make a really big to-do with I guess, like, the opening ceremonies is what we'd call them. Like, they really know how to put on a killer show with that, and I love that about them. Like, it makes it so fun, and like I said, all the monsters come running up and down the line where people are waiting and stuff, and they get in your face, and, if you're not expecting it, it starts scaring people, and then those who are expecting it, they start cheering and all this. Like, everyone's having a grand old time with it, and I love that. Then, even on top of the house itself, they've got, like, these 2 giant fire cannons that will just spew out fire whenever. Like, it's so cool. I think we've got some video footage of it that you can see here. But, like, they're just spewing fire out, and it's, like, so cool, because you don't see many houses that do that. And the ones that do are few and far between, but, like, there's something about it. They're going that extra mile to do something like that. So literally, this haunted house is utilizing, strobe lights, theatrical lighting, fog machines, pyrotechnics, running water. It's doing everything. And then out on the Midway, you'll also see this in the video, they've got a bubble machine out there. And so there's a guy out there filling up the bubbles, and the bubbles are falling down and stuff, and people are just having a grand old time with it. Like, this place is a lot of fun, and it's definitely a place for you to come and have, like, just an awesome, awesome time. So they're using all sorts of effects, and I love that. One of the rooms in the house is at the very end, and technically you go through it in both. More so the cursed one than the quarantine one, but you still go through it in both, because they both lead you out the same way and drop you off at the gift shop, which I think that's a nice touch, that they both drop you off in the same place, so that's kind of neat. But what happens at the end of it is you enter this, it's like a giant white room, basically. Like, all the walls are white. I think it's meant to be like a meat locker. And you go there, and things are hanging from the wall. I guess it's like those kind of like body bags, but not really. They're like punching bags. Punching bags are hanging all over the place, and it is just filled with fog. Fog as far as the eye can see. Like, it is thick too. So you got this thick fog. You're in a white room. Then you've got lights that are changing the wall colors, so they're like red and blue and stuff. And then to top it all off, of course, you're getting chased out by a guy with a chainsaw, and I love that. And it's so funny because tonight I didn't think there was going to be one. I didn't think there was going to be a guy with a chainsaw because I never heard it. You know, I was listening, and usually in a haunted house, no matter what haunted house you go to, you can always hear it happening somewhere. With this one, you couldn't hear it anywhere. You didn't hear a chainsaw rev up. And I thought that was kind of awesome that it kind of hit it because I didn't see it coming. Like, a part of me thought it was coming, but then I was like, well, I haven't heard anything, so there must not be, there must not be a chainsaw guy in this one. And so I was a little disappointed, but then when he came out at the end, it actually scared me a little bit. And I've gotten to a point where if I'm with a group and a guy comes out with a chainsaw, I don't start running. I kind of just hang back and watch him chase the rest of the group out, and I chuckle a little bit. This time he came straight for me. Usually they don't bother me at all, but he came right for me and got like up in my ear with that thing. I was like, oh jeez. And it put me on edge. It scared me a little bit. He achieved the scare that he was going for from me. So good on him for that. So, Paranoia Haunted House, located in Canton, Georgia, just past Marietta and Atlanta and all those northern cities. I'll tell you, it's one heck of a drive from where we're located. We're centered out of Augusta. I don't know if we've ever discussed that on the channel, but we are centered out of Augusta. That's where we hail from, so we're kind of in the center of Georgia, so we pretty much are going 2 hours in any given direction to get to some of these haunted houses. But, we had a nice little 3-hour drive up there, 3-hour drive back. That's what we're doing right now as we're talking to you guys. Yeah, I mean, it's a good drive. It's nice. But it's located up there in Canton, Georgia. Our tickets tonight were $30, and we definitely got the bang for our buck. You're basically paying $15 per haunted house with that, and I think that's just pretty good. I mean, for $15, they do one hell of a job. So, if you want to check out Paranoia this coming haunt season, you can find them at 2075 Marietta Highway, Canton, Georgia. That's where they are located. You can contact them at 404-387-3203. And you can go to their website, fearticket@paranoiahaunt.com. Just kidding, that's their email. Huh. Their website is paranoiahaunt.com. So go check them out, check out their website, give them a look this haunt season. We definitely want to go back again once we get around to October. We're hoping they change even more stuff. That was one thing that I thought was pretty neat, and I love this about many of the haunted houses that we go to. There are a few that don't necessarily do this as much as I'd like, but then the ones that do, I give them so much credit. It's the ones that are actually going through and changing things up in their haunted house, so you're not seeing the same thing every single year. Some haunted houses will, they'll open it up, they'll write a new theme for the haunted house or something, and, they'll change like maybe, I don't know, one or two things. Maybe they won't change anything. They'll just change the theme and say, oh, well, we did this differently. And, that wasn't the case here. They actually did go through and they changed some things. They changed a good bit. I remember walking through and thinking, oh, okay, I don't remember this from before. Or I don't remember doing it this way before. Things like that. So little things like that go a long way. And when people notice that too, that's always a good thing. I forgot to mention when we were talking about the special effects thing, there was one more thing that I loved about this. So, last year when we went through the quarantine haunt, the very first room you go in, you were basically in the haunted house. And so you were in the nitty gritty. Things were starting up right then and there, and it was all hands on deck. Buckle up, you're going for a ride. This time, the first room you go into is actually, I don't know that if they meant it to be this way or because of the number of people that were there, it just kind of came out that way. But the first room that you went into was like a little, almost extended queue kind of thing. So like you waited in line outside, and then you got into this part of the line, and you waited a little bit more, and you got to see some of the decor. I don't know if you're allowed to take pictures in there. We did take a couple, so hopefully, they don't contact us and get upset about that. Nobody told us yay or nay on that one. They didn't have anything like that on the other side, on the cursed side. That was just on the quarantine side. But what happened was, last year I remember going through that room, and as soon as you got in, like I said, you were starting off as soon as you got in there, and there was like military soldiers like telling you, let's go, let's go, let's go. They were moving you through this thing. This year they did something really cool, which was they had this giant television screen, like these 4 television screens on the wall, and they were showing footage of of the haunted house, and it showed the title that said The Void, and it was building the suspense. And then not only that, you got up to this one guy who's just kind of standing there, and he's in his whole creepy garb and all that fun stuff, and he's asking you how many people you got in your group, yada yada yada. And then you don't really see a door that you can go through. You're kind of like, well, where are we going now? And he presses a button, and it's like a trap door kind of opens down on right where the door should be, and so you kind of have to crawl down and go through it. But I thought that was so neat that they did something like that. It just speaks volumes to what they're trying to do there, how they're trying to be unique and do cool, unique things with the haunt, and I love that. Absolutely love it. I think that they are definitely one of the top haunted houses on the market, and that they are definitely worth checking out. In terms of scare factor, they're good at getting you scared too. They know how to scare, not just with, in one way or another. They do it with practical scares, and then they also do it with some unpractical scares, Like I said, I got scared by somebody grabbing my ankles. That scared the living crap out of me. And then they'll do the conventional scares of jumping out at you or screaming in your ear. And, those are the ways they scare you. And then sometimes you've got machines that will, make noises and stuff, or, bang on a wall or shake a rattle. They've got all the scares down packed to a point where they can scare you very easily. And this was something, I found this out as I was leaving. I was hanging out in the gift shop a little bit, chit-chatting with the people who work there. And let me just tell you, the people who work there, they are nice as can be. These are some really nice people. They're nice people who like to have fun, and you can tell just by interacting with them. You can tell they love their job and they love working here. But I was hanging out in the gift shop, and I got me a t-shirt and stuff, and I'm sitting there chit-chatting and all that. And what's really cool is the 2 managers that run the place, apparently they have a contest every year when they do their haunts, to see which haunt is better, cursed or quarantine. And I kind of offhandedly said oh, that one was so much scarier than the other one. And that's when they told me about the competition. I was like, oh, that's so neat, that's so cool. And so I love that they can have that type of fun with each other and stuff. I think that's really neat. And not only that, I was telling them about the girl who grabbed my ankles or whatever while I was in there. And there's this girl kind of sitting behind the thing, and she's like, oh, I won't go through there. See, I'd work there, but I wouldn't go through there. And then somebody goes, her dad's the manager. I'm like, wait a minute, your dad's the manager and you won't go through the haunted house? She's like, nope. So that just goes to show you that, it is a pretty scary place. I mean, if your dad's the manager of the haunted house and you still won't go through, I mean, come on, it's got to have some level of scare then, and some sort of merit. And I think that's pretty awesome that, the manager's daughter won't even go through. So, maybe one day she'll go through. Maybe she'll go through and she'll love it. Who knows? Or maybe she'll go through and, be scarred for life. It happens. Haunted houses, they're scary places, I love them. They're awesome. There's something great about being scared and, scaring other people too. So, I give the utmost respect for those who work in the haunt industry and those who support the haunt industry. But that's going to about do it for us on this episode of the Terror Talks. Like we said, we had a great time checking out Paranoia for their Midsummer Night Scream event. One night only, July 10th. Tickets were $30, located up in Canton, Georgia. They went from 8 p.m. to, I believe, 11 p.m., maybe midnight. And we had an absolute blast. That was our second time visiting the haunt, and I can promise you we will go back again. Be sure to keep looking out for more haunt news, haunt information, and things. We're always posting things here on the channel, whether it be episodes or posting things to our social media. We're always posting something. If you like what we post, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're on all those great social medias. We'd love for you to give us a like, a comment, follow us, shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you guys. Be sure to follow us on all of our listening platforms. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and several other ones too. So be sure to go on there, give us a follow on all of those, check us out. If you want to give us a little bit of extra support, and we love a little bit of extra support that you guys can give us, you can go and subscribe to our Patreon. Patreon members are $1 a month, but we have 3 packages. We have $1 a month, $5 a month, and $10 a month. We will probably be modifying some of these just to sweeten the deal just a little bit for you guys. But if you do $1 a month, you get early access to our episodes as well. And then if you do the $5 a month package, you get early access to our episodes as well as bonus episodes too. And then if you subscribe to our $10 a month package, you can get things such as early access, bonus episodes, and of course, Terror Talks merchandise. And we are very happy about that. We're going to try and get some of those up there where you guys can see what you can get with that package and let you check out the merch. But we would love to have you guys give us any amount of support that you can give us. If you like what we do, or you want to comment to us and talk to us, you can send us a message to theterrortalks@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys, so feel free to shoot us an email and, just talk to us. Let us know what you think. Maybe you want to come on the show and talk to us about something. We'd love to have you guys on. You guys are awesome. Be sure to go check out our friends over at Tales from the Creeped. They do an awesome job on their podcast talking about all things paranormal, abductions, supernatural, psychic, interdimensional. They do all that fun stuff. Go check them out. They're on Spotify. I believe they're on Anchor as well. Tales from the Creeped. You can also check out our friends over at the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast and their sister podcast, Rush of Fear. We support them, and we hope that they support us as well, as we are all covering things to do with Universal Studios' Halloween Horror Nights event that they are going to be doing. You may have heard several of our episodes where we have talked about that event in great depth, and there will be several more coming up. If you've ever attended that event before, and you want to be part of our channel, we have a special opportunity for all of our listeners. We're going to do a listener's guide to Halloween Horror Nights. All you have to do is record yourself giving your tips and tricks to a successful Halloween Horror Nights. You can make it as long or as short as you want, but just give us your honest thoughts on what you do to have an epic Halloween Horror Nights, what you do to make it the best it can absolutely be, and just kind of, help people hear how they can do it. And we're going to include all of that into one big episode. It may be more than one episode depending on how many submissions we get. So we would love to have as many people get in contact with us for that. And if you want to just shoot us a message to be featured on our channel too, we'd love to have that as well. We would love to have you guys reach out to us, tell us what you think. We want to hear from you guys. That helps us to develop more content or modify the content that we already have. So please reach out to us. Don't be shy. We want to do whatever we can. But that is going to do it for us tonight on the Terror Talks. This has been episode 13, talking about Paranoia, Haunted House, A Midsummer Night's Scream. We will see you guys next time, and take care.